everybody. Welcome back to the Record Player. As you all know, one of my favorite things here at TRP is having the opportunity to interview some fantastic up-and-coming talent from all over the world, but especially right here at home in Canada. And today is no exception. I'm happy today to be joined by Toronto's Jessica Sevier, whose single "See You There" is out now and doing very, very well. Her previous single, Confetti, actually topped the Canadian indie country radio charts in 2022. And she is currently doing what she does best, performing all over Ontario, including a show January, is it January 26th at Lee's Palace, in Toronto. Welcome, Jessica Sevier, to the Record.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. How are you?
I'm great. I'm at work right now, just taking a little break to take a chat. Busy stuff, but I'm glad to be able to come on here and talk about music and chat about music and all that sort of stuff. So it's a nice little break from the work life.
You're lucky to have work life that allows you to do this. This is good. They believe in you. Nice.
They believe, yes, they're supporters of my music, and they always talk about my music and tell me, like, they ask me all these questions and they're so into it. So I have a great community here at work that like just wants to push my shows, and they're all coming out next week to my show in Toronto. So it's gonna be great.
That's fantastic. I say country music when I'm describing you, but I mean, yeah, you fall into that country music bucket, but you're all over the place musically. I mean, when I listen to your sound, it's everywhere. When did you steer yourself in that country direction? When did you say, this is what I want to concentrate on?
Definitely in the last maybe 2 years, I really found my voice in country music. When I first started writing around like 14, 15, I was writing stuff that like I don't think I could pull off. Yeah. It's just not how I'm made. It's not how my voice works. It's not how I've trained myself. I really wanted to be like a rock star and like sing rock songs like the big bands that I love from the 80s, like Guns N' Roses and Cinderella and Poison. I love those bands.
Cinderella, not a girl.
But I can't write a song and I can't sing like that. Right. So I think after trying to do that for so long, I had to, rediscover my roots and write stuff that really came from the heart. And I think that's where I changed into country music, was that, I spent most of my time growing up on a farm. I rode horses my whole life. And I think zoning into more of that aspect of my life, I was able to relate to a lot more people and be more current with the generation. But I still take a lot of inspiration from my favorite bands and all that sort of stuff. And I've always loved country music, so it was a nice segue. As I matured, I kind of found this nice community of country music artists, and they helped me figure out how to write in the country style. And I just like found such a great community that it was so easy to make that transition into country music.
The first time I heard you was when your first single, "Ghost of Tom," which that was 2019, so it's been a while. But the first time I heard that song, the first thing that went through my mind was she has a storyteller voice, and I don't know if you know what I'm saying about that, but it basically means to me you have that songwriting ability and singing ability to tell kind of like a mini novel in like 4 or 5 minutes. Is that something that you kind of
try and do a lot? Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Kind of, is that how you style your songwriting around? You're not?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I grew up listening to a lot of Bruce Springsteen and a lot of John Mellencamp.
Yep. 100%.
And I always say like Bruce Springsteen is my dad. Like Bruce Springsteen raised me. Like he feels like my dad, because my whole teenage life, I sat in my room with the River cassette in my cassette player, headphones on, and just sat on the floor every single night when I came home from school. And I would just listen to the River front to back. And that's just how I learned how to write, honestly, was listening to his stories and listening to John Mellencamp's stories. Like, I find a lot of John Mellencamp's earlier albums have great storytelling, like Nothing Matters But What If It Did. That album, I think, hugely inspired my songwriting, because he talks about issues and things that are actually happening in the world. And I think that's how I like to write, is like I see things happening in the world and I try and tell a story about it.
One of my favorite songwriters for that reason, telling stories, is Maria McKee. I don't know if you know who Maria McKee is, but
I think I've heard the name.
I could completely see you doing a couple of Maria McKee songs. Look it up. Panic Beach is a beautiful song, and she tells an entire, what could be a movie, in 6 minutes, and it's perfect. let's talk about your latest stuff. Over 1 million streams for your music throughout all the platforms, which is incredible. See You There is awesome, doing very, very well. Confetti did great here on Canadian radio. Tell me a little bit about the creation of that stuff and where that came from.
Yeah, so Confetti was actually the first song that I ever recorded that I didn't write. And that was a huge challenge for me just because when I write, I emotionally feel every word that I say. With Confetti, it was a little different because I didn't write it, and I had to kind of find my own perspective on the song to be able to sing it well. So that definitely took me some time to relate to the words and relate to what I was doing and all that sort of stuff. But after that came along, it was such an easy process to just create. I went down to Nashville with Confetti, and then also See You There. See You There was kind of my second song that I wasn't so sure about. And it ended up being the song that everyone loved the most. So that was just so crazy. I wrote that song with Lydia Sutherland and Aaron Pollock over Zoom. And then it was such a quick turnaround. We brought it to Nashville maybe like 4 months later. We recorded it. And we really went for this Tenille Townes vibe on it, really tried to make it an upbeat song because the work tape was just a really sad piano ballad. And we decided that we could just do so much more with it. So when we got to the studio, my producer Grady was like, "Yeah, we need to liven this up." And the band he has there is just so incredible. We took it in like one take, and we're like, "That's it. That's the song. Like that's how it's supposed to go." So it was a lot of creative struggle, I think, but I think that's what made these songs my favorite and the most me was because I spent so much time perfecting them and really relating to the songs and making the music perfect that um, I definitely am the most proud of these two singles that I like over everything I've ever created.
Is it hard? Is it hard as a songwriter to write something with somebody else? I mean, it's hard enough in the same room, but over Zoom, I mean, how difficult is that process?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I never really co-wrote until COVID hit. I always wrote solo. I always just had my thoughts, and I was definitely very scared to like open
Yeah.
up to other people. I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna like see how crazy my brain is, and they're gonna think I'm wild and like I'm messed up. But I think that's the thing that brings everyone together in a music community is that we're all a little messed up. We're all a little broken. We wouldn't like we if we weren't broken, we wouldn't be writing songs, right? We wouldn't have a we wouldn't right. So I think that's what really comforted me with the Zoom writes was telling myself nah, like if this is a musician I'm going to write with, we're all a little bit broken and weird, and they're not going to judge me. So yeah, going into that, I think that's just how you have to think and just be really open. It's definitely hard to convey ideas over Zoom, but I think it works well once you get the hang of it. And it's definitely hard. Sometimes cameras cut out and Wi-Fi cuts out, and it kind of messes everything up. But once you kind of get that groove going, it's totally easy. It feels like you're in the same room, and you just write down all your thoughts, and they pick them up, and you throw them around, and I've written probably some of my favorite songs over Zoom, so I'm a big fan of the Zoom write.
Is it? Well, we all have become that in the last few years for sure. Is it a surreal feeling? I mean, is it a different feeling standing in a studio in Nashville than
Yes,
it is in Toronto or anywhere else?
100%. I always recorded in Toronto. I've worked all these studios around here, and there's nothing like flying into Nashville and getting in that taxi to the studio and showing up, and you're like, okay, I'm here. These players played for Luke Combs last week. Okay, I'm here. This is my time.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So it's nerve wracking. I would definitely say that because these are like top level musicians. Um, and I'm like, they're judging me. They know everything. Like they're going to tell me I'm doing this wrong, but they're so supportive. And I've had to trust my own musical ability and all my studies that, I'm meant to be here. I'm part of this. And they're just great guys to work with. And it's definitely surreal. It's like, whoa, I'm doing this. And it's cool.
In Nashville.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in the US right now. I'm in I'm like, how many people have stood in this studio? Like I think I was shaking the whole time.
Unbelievable. I I know the world nowadays is all about singles and putting out songs and getting them out as fast as you can. Is there a plan in place? Are you getting ready to do a record, to do a full album?
Um,
Do you have
I
an?
think thinking about It's definitely something that I want to do in the next little bit. It's just finding the right time, I think. And I don't know what that album's gonna be yet. I think I really need to either have a concept album or do an album of covers to start. I think that's where I'm kind of laying um, the groundwork, is because I want to tell a story in my first album. I really want it to be like, this is a concept of me, and I want you to hear that. So if that's covers that of songs that inspired me to become a musician, or if that's an album of a concept album, every song is going to fade into the next kind of thing. I feel like that's where my creativity wants to flow with an album, which is very kind of different than where everyone else wants to go. But if I were to do an album, I think that's the direction I'd head in. And it's never really been on the top of the discussion table, but if people want it, then you know what? I might just have to do it in the next year or two.
We're all about albums over here. Vinyl is, everything sounds better on vinyl.
I have a huge vinyl collection. I can't even tell you what's in it. It's everything. There's everything from Van Halen to Billy Idol to the Carpenters, to Sonny and Cher. Like, I have everything.
And right off the hop, what did I say? You are a little bit of a mixed bag of everything.
I am everything. I'm pop music, I'm rock music, I'm country music, I'm everything.
Lee's Palace next week, which is my favorite venue in Toronto. I've said that so many times, it's ridiculous. I love seeing shows there.
I'm excited to play.
You've never played there?
I've never played. This is my first time headlining Lee's Palace. And I'm excited. I've never been, I've never played, and I'm really, really excited.
Sign your name in the back, because in the back dressing room there's a little tiny room. It's probably about as big as a closet, but everybody who's ever played there has signed the wall. It's fantastic. So
I will bring my Sharpie. I'll bring a gold metallic Sharpie to make myself stand out.
Absolutely. What can we expect? Tickets are still available, by the way, for anybody seeing this, that if you want to head, you're hanging around downtown, you want to head to Lee's on Thursday, on the 26th. What can we expect from a live Jessica Sevier set? I mean, what do we get?
A lot of energy. A lot of energy is what I'll say. I give everything in my live shows, and by the end of it, I'm just dripping with sweat. I'm passed out almost. I'm done. I'm exhausted, but I really like to give, energy to the crowd, because if the crowd isn't feeling any energy, they're not going to give me any back. So I'm running around up there. I'm jumping around. I'm playing around with my bandmates. I'm like, I was gonna swear, but I won't. I'm messing around. I'm like singing to them. I'm going up to play their instruments. I might just like tap on the guitar. Like I'm having fun and trying to be like, hey, we're all friends here. Let's have a party, right? And that's what I really like to show off in my shows. And I sing my little heart out, and I really just try and relate to everyone in the audience. And I always see people mouthing the words, so I'll give them a mic sometimes. I'll throw my mic into the audience, and I'm like, you guys sing this one, and they'll pass it around, and they'll bring it back to me. And I just like to build a community, and I talk to people in the audience. Like, if I see someone doing something funny, I'll be like, hey, you there, take it off your shirt, put that back on, like stuff like that. It's really about building a community. And of course the music is incredible. I have incredible musicians playing with me, and they're just so amazing. They just make everything sound so good. And yeah, it's just, I think just, if I could sum it up in a few words, just a ball of energy is what my show is. So if you want to come party, have a good time, dance around, this is where you should head out. Come to a Jessica Sevier show.
It's funny, because when I'm all about bars and clubs and small theaters when it comes to see shows. I love smaller venues, but when it comes to country music, for some reason, I prefer it in outside Boots and Hurts kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like a country music festival. Is that something that I mean, you've been in a couple of these contest type things, and the CNE thing that you were in as well. Is that something that you're gearing up towards, trying to get involved in the Boots and Hurts up and coming? Is it the up and coming or the?
Yeah, so the emerging artist program for Boots and Hurts. I definitely, I'm eyeing it. I definitely try. I don't want to do it when it's not right. And I think that's the biggest thing, is a lot of artists will just be like, oh my God, I need to do this right now. And they'll jump into it and when they're not ready. And I think with that competition, they really look for solid careers and solid starts that have a lot of attention. And I think that attention really just started for me with Confetti. So it's only really been about a year of that progress that I've seen. So I don't know if I'm quite there yet. I'm not quite ready to put myself out there like that. I think I have a little bit more growing to do as an artist, which, you know, some people might call me crazy to say, like, why don't you just do it? But I think I need a little bit more of a structured plan before I head into that. But I'm doing a lot of festivals outside. Last year, I think I did, you know, every weekend I was out at a big festival field playing a show. And I even drove out to Cornwall to do the Rib Fest there. And that was so amazing. My band and I were on the road for 8 hours, just shooting the shit and, you know, having fun time playing a show. And I think that's what I love about being on the road, is just like having my best friends there. Because my band they're all my best friends. And that's what's super awesome. And the festivals are so fun because you go into this massive field and it's like everyone's line dancing, everyone's running around. And I think I agree, that's the best place for live country music, is outside in the field. But Lee's Palace, I promise, will still be good. We'll still have a great time.
I'm sure it will be. Another year of Lee's Palace, Danforth Musical, what is it, Clancy House or whatever it's. Keep doing stuff like that for sure. I mentioned the new song. Let's do a couple of silly little rapid fires quickly before we go.
Okay.
Who would be your dream artist to open for? Anybody at all?
Bruce Springsteen. 100.
I thought you might say that. Yeah. What's on your playlist right now? If I was to look on your phone, what was the last thing you listened
to? Lainey Wilson's Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. Her cover of that song, I am obsessed with it. I'm listening to it 5 times a day. It just really, like, I'm in the car and I'm like, let's go, motivation, rock and roll, Hoochie Coo. It's great stuff.
Where were you and what were you doing the first time that you heard your own song on the radio or on
Oh, wow. My first time hearing my own song on the radio, I remember this well. I had a lot of stations play my songs when I was younger and I was just starting out, but no one ever told me. So I'd always just get a report back later saying, oh, it was played on this station in Port Carling. And I'm like, oh, very cool, very cool. But the first time I ever heard it was Country 89 with Shane Christopher Neal. He interviewed me and we did the whole thing with one of my songs. It was my song Heads Up that I released in COVID times. And we did a whole interview. I remember my mom brought out the champagne. We sat at the table. We had the radio going. And as soon as it started, we started drinking. We opened the champagne and we had a time. My whole family was there. We were all so excited because it's huge. It's a huge thing for a young artist to have radio play. And we made a huge deal of it. And then it was the first ever time, and it was like a one and done radio play. It was like a favor to me that he did that. And now I hear it all the time and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, see you there's on the radio again. And I'm like scared by it. I'm like, this is so cool.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot more champagne in your future. I have a feeling. I can't wait for it myself. Like I said, Ghost of Tom, when I first heard that song, I absolutely loved it. I've been following you since, and wish you the absolute best. I mentioned the new song is called See You There. Our record players can check out all your stuff in all the usual places, Spotify, Apple Music, and of course at www.jessicasevier.com. I've got Ghost of Tom as a regular on my rotation, but we need vinyl. We need more vinyl. So work on that.
Once I finally get to my first album, I will make a vinyl and I'll send you the first copy.
Atta girl. Thanks for hanging out with us on TRP today, Jessica. It's been awesome. And good luck at the show next week.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right. Bye. Thank you.